Welcome back to Night Flight. Today I have Sonia Barrett with me. Her website is therealsoniabarrett.com. She has written several books. She is a documentary filmmaker. She is a public speaker, and you can do webinars, seminars with her. You can all check that out on her website. Links will be down below. So, Sonia, welcome back to Night Flight.
Well, thank you so much for having me back. Thank you.
Yeah, as an
Awesome.
explanation, this due to technical issues, this interview almost didn't take place. Yeah, so but
Yeah.
okay.
As it often happens, I've seen it happen so many times in different situations. You just kind of roll with it and go, okay, because at some point you're going to be able to do it anyway.
Yeah,
So, yeah, here
exactly.
we are.
Okay, so Sonia, interesting topic today, the death program.
Oh, no, I did not even realize that was the top. Uh, something light. Okay.
Yeah, very easy topic. So,
Oh,
what in your book? What is the death program?
well, I think the death program is just the fact that everybody is operating under the same, this common belief system of an ultimate end, an expiration of the body, and it's an accepted fact in people's minds. And the programming as such, like you program anything else, it's a programming that um, has followed us through the generations and our families and the people around us. The things that we see keep reaffirming that this has to be so, to a point where for most people to entertain something, a completely different thought or idea about it is, if it was the ancient times, it probably would have us, like burned, burned at the stake for such, witchcraft is probably what they would say, for talking like this, heretics. But this is all science in the sense of just to question any of it. So that's what I mean by the death program, and everything people do leads them to that confirmation, that confirming. They reaffirm it in their own minds by the aging and the getting old, and things like referencing, they're in their sunset years. Well, the sun sets, it's just, it's waning. Ultimately, your light's going out. So yeah, so people have accepted this as the normal, simply because they don't know what else to do, and because it seems like it's inevitable and unavoidable.
Okay, I've read an article that said death exists because we believe in it. Would you agree?
Like everything else.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
everything is because, I mean, even science is saying that it's the observer effect, that, see, human beings, even the scientists, we get selective in terms of um, facts or scientific information. They'll have it applied to certain things, but then other things they don't want to apply it to. So if it's the observer effect and reality is showing up simply because we're observing it into being, and it's there because we expect it to be there. But then when you go to the idea of death, that doesn't apply. And that's what they do. Okay, that doesn't apply, but it applies here. So if we're observing everything into effect, into existence, then that means that we're observing that as well, because death then has become part of existence. It's a concept. So everything basically is a concept, an idea that we are experiencing. And death, if we look at it as really expiration, it's the expiration of the body. And then we have it in our minds that everything ultimately has to die or expire at some point. So that's also a major programming there. And then we'll give evidence of everything around us that appears to die, and the seasons change. But change doesn't necessarily mean expiration. Change is just change. You could be, change is transformation. So instead of going through the transformation of death, what if there is another transformation that you go through, and instead you're evolving beyond that? Because that's how I see it. It's just part of evolution. It's like in evolution, according to what we see or understand evolution to be, we see how life has evolved. And you see how, if you see how life has evolved, you see then that something is continuously wanting to experience different potentials and different possibilities. So wouldn't that also make sense then, that to transcend the idea of death or expiration would just then be another part of the experiencing? Otherwise it's one-sided. Mm. People aren't thinking in that context. So
yeah. So are we then in, let's say, a cosmic reality show?
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. We're all gamers. We're all game players. We're all characters. Sonia is a character. The idea or identity of Sonia, or the identity of Judith, what we live in our daily lives, the personalities then that other people know as Judith or know as Sonia. We're playing roles. We're playing these characters. And some years back, I wrote an article called what is it? Breaking Character, which is looking at this idea of breaking character, meaning taking a moment, like an actor, taking a moment to break character and leave the stage. And when you leave the stage, those are those moments when you may perhaps go into a deep level of meditation or something of that nature. Anything that's taking you away from living this character all the time, this identity that we have, that we're attached to, that we defend, that we hold on to, that we think it's the totality of who we are. That's what we're doing. And that character, that identity has been operating then based on these programs. And the program of death was wired into that character type as well. And the life that you will live, that character will live, and the choices that character will make, that will always lead to the programs that are heavily embedded and accepted. That's the character's life, is to journey the path of those accepted programs.
Mm-hmm. So somebody might say now, what about animals? Do they have the same program running no matter if they are pets or in the wild?
Right. And I think that everything in our world, because we live based on those programs, are running, are operating, are existing based on that particular frame of reference. Everything around us that we're tied into, I think, is operating based on that. Now, I think the question people should ask is there another frame of reference? Is there a reality that is actually happening right here around me that I do not see because I'm not wired for it? That's why every now and then we're getting information popping up about creatures that they're finding that are thousands of years old, or even is it the octopus that doesn't die, that regenerates? So every now and then we somehow manage to sneak a glimpse into the fact that, oh, there's something else going on here. But we're so wired for dying, for death, that everything that we seem to see and interact with is going to then support that frame of reference. And that's what we need to understand. There's all kinds of realities running at the same time. Which one are you tied into? And that's why I'm doing a workshop in December 7th. And this is why it says, what version of reality will you be running? Will you choose to run in 2020? What version of reality? And that becomes really important because people don't realize you're running different versions. You know, the choices come from what? Come from your understanding, come from our perception, come from our belief system. This is how we're making choices. And the more we evolve in our understanding and awareness, is the more those choices then are going to change. And it's doing that all day long. Oh, we suddenly are educated on something. Oh, I had no idea. Now a different level of awareness has come about whatever the subject matter is. That immediately is going to change your choices without you realizing it. Instead of going down this path, you're going to go this way, because now you have a different set of information that's redirecting you down here as opposed to going here had you not known. And it's the same principle all the way around. So that's why we're seeing what we're seeing.
Okay, so to better understand this, if you say we are experiencing death because we are wired like that, are you talking about, let's say physical death, we leave this body, or are you that is not necessary? Or do you mean we leave the body and transform into something else?
Well, what I'm talking about, that it's not necessary for the physical body to expire.
Okay.
And the physical body expires again because so much that we don't understand. Obviously, we can't bring that kind of explanation, deep explanation. I'm going to do the best I can though right here, but in this show, because it's a journey of understanding. But the body is what I'm talking about. The body doesn't have to do that. Now, it's not that you're necessarily going to live forever in this body, but the body then has an opportunity to transcend as the consciousness transcends. So it's not a decaying process. It's not an expiration process, but rather the body is not the governing system anymore, because right now it's a sensory system, and right now the body seems to run everything because we identify ourselves as our bodies, completely as our bodies. So as we begin to evolve into a greater levels then of awareness, the body starts to travel along with that kind of evolution in our understanding. And that's what starts to create that kind of shift where the life force and that light then, or that kind of like electricity then, that streams through the body to as the generator to keep everything charged up, that is not shutting off anymore. You see, it's how we have to look at it. Well, what's keeping the body charged? How is the body staying charged? And when that happens and it doesn't have to shut off anymore, then simply what is happening is now we've crossed this level. We've crossed over where the games seem to always stop for everybody. Eventually you get here and then it stops. And then it stops. So you never get to see what lies beyond this whole expiration thing. But when the body gets to stay charged, because the consciousness that it is tied to, the consciousness system that it is tied to, is evolving in awareness way beyond the limitations of this physical realm, that starts to keep the body charged. And the message that we have to our brains, our minds, is that we are not done with our exploration. We are not done with this expedition, like astronauts or scientists. We're not done yet. We are looking around the corner. We want to see what lies beyond where we've come to this stop. It's like, no, there's something else around the corner. We can see beyond that. And that's what starts to happen. So your whole being, the cells, everything starts to get that information. And, you know, obviously we're talking about overriding a heck of a lot of programs. A lot of programs are tied to the death program. A tremendous amount of programs are tied to it. So in order to make this happen, you figure those programs have to apparently no longer be there. And that's the journey. That's the process of a lot of my work, of what we do with the workshops, is people understanding this and going on their own interpersonal journey to shift their own personal programs that are tied to ancestral programs, generational programs, the programming of the collective, because this is like written, basically encoded in our DNA to some degree, just like life beyond the idea of death in a body is also there. That information is also there. But it's like the software that's running, the programs that are running. We're running that other program, the death program, so everything attached to it continuously runs, as opposed to this program over here that sits quietly, that says, we're not doing that. We're going beyond that. So that's what I'm looking at, that the body doesn't have to expire. And then it gives us an opportunity to enter other realms of possibilities. And the body then is going to become whatever form it needs to take in terms of the realm that it needs to be part of. Because now we're talking about the frequency and the vibration of the form. Every realm or every environment is operating on specific frequencies, specific vibrations. So we're here on the planet Earth, at least this version as we understand it to be, in a body that processes the gases, the gaseous laws of this environment as we understand it to be. So this is the form that this body has taken. But what if we're in an environment where it's all sound? It's just based on sound, or silence, or whatever it is. It's still going to have a frequency, and the body, in order to be to operate there, is going to then have to take that form. But it's the idea of being able to switch to be in whatever. You're not confined to, okay, well, now I can only be sound. Now I can only be air. Now I can only be this body. This is how we've operated. It's this polarized. It's either this thing or that thing. We don't know how to flow. We don't know how to be part of the flow. And to not expire physically is flow. You're just transforming in a flow of transformation, of again, for the lack of a better word, of evolving, as opposed to the other way where it's this thing or that thing. It's black or white, it's positive, it's negative, it's dark, it's light. That's how our thinking has been. So we can't picture anything else that doesn't throw us into one or the other. That's why we're going through that. But anyway, that's the message that we we then start to center ourselves, realize that we're not running away from death. We're not trying to escape anything, but rather we are simply moving into a flow that allows us the experiencing of other possibilities. That's what we're talking about. And you can't get to experience those things because human beings expire so quickly. You know, the programming is 80 years. Oh yeah, they've lived to the ripe old age of 80. Seriously? The ripe old age of 100. And if we start thinking about it, that is just absolutely nothing. It's like nothing, absolutely nothing. But we accept it. And then we see, I love the commercials where I see the older parent, the grandparent, and the grandparent is walking with a cane, and the grandparents is doing all these things that in our minds is what an old person does, and the child is saying, "Oh, grandpa or grandma, why are you coughing like that?" But the whole fact is that child is being programmed to identify old age. That child is being programmed that that's what that looks like. Now, I'm a grandmother. I'm a grandmother of 4 and 2 step grandchildren, and my oldest grandchild is 18, going on 19, right? I certainly am not home knitting. Not that there's anything wrong with knitting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. But I'm certainly not any of that. I am completely on a whole other level of operating, not within what you've been told you should be as a grandparent or at being at a certain age. You're not that. You're living something completely different. Now, the beauty about this, Judith, though, is that even though most people are unaware of what we're talking about, we do see lots of glimpses of it where aging is not quite the same anymore, though. People 50 and 60 and 70, they're not quite that. We see that people are pushing the envelope in being younger, in living a completely different life. So we're seeing that there is something to this. There is something to this, because the more human beings acknowledge that that's not anything, 80 is nothing, that's when we see how these changes happen. And Dr. Cloutier Rapai in my documentary said just that. He said that science is really completely dependent on human beings, on what we believe, which means what we will allow or accept as a possibility, right? We're the ones really determining this or what science discovers. So he had said that in an experiment that they had done, there are people that they ask, would they be okay with living to 100? And they're like, yeah, okay. But 120, no. Because of the perception that they have. But the minute we start to accept 120 as nothing, which in some societies they do, that's when everything changes. Because we're the ones that are determining all of this. We're the ones that are deciding what that looks like. And that's something that we need to get. So the more people that, yes, are on board for that kind of level of understanding now and shifting that, the more in years to come, we're going to see people, 100 years old that are going to look like 50 or 40. And it just keeps doing that. Personally, I'm not going to wait around for that kind of gradual process. I'm just doing this right now because I understand it. So why not? Why not move your mind into that kind of thinking? And you don't have to, I don't use the word, I remember I used to use it, but I don't really use the word like immortal anymore or any of those words. What I do is I say, just be. If I am just being, then I'm in a flow. I am just in the flow of timelessness and existence and life. I don't have to identify, well, I'm immortal. I'm not, you know, that means I'm just going to live forever. The minute I have to go into a lot of identification like that is the minute I realize that I must have an opposite program running somewhere. The minute I have to try to be good means that I've got the opposite program running somewhere. The minute I have to try to be positive, that means I've got the possibility of the opposite program running somewhere. So if I can just be, right, and be allowing of who I am in every moment as I'm going through my evolution and my transformation, if I can just be and not necessarily have to judge my understanding in this moment, but just go, okay, now I'm ready to move on to the next thing and the next thing. Because the minute I have to stop and I have to judge the heck out of every single moment, every single thing, I have now spent a whole lot of time, created a whole lot of stories around this judgment that you could get stuck in, that starts to age you and take you down and all of these other things. But I can realize that everything that I'm experiencing right now is a stepping stone to a greater level of understanding. Then I can lick my wounds or whatever I got to do and keep moving. I'm always like, keep it moving.
So what we are also seeing is, I agree that aging is different now, that there are really people, and I meet more and more and more of them, that when you look at them and they tell you what age they are, you are going like, what?
Yeah.
And
I love it.
Yeah, I love that too. And it does that, but sometimes I meet people, you know, they are, let's say, late 30s, beginning of their 40s, and they look like their grandparents.
That's because of life. It's because we're carrying our beliefs too. We're carrying the weight of our experiences too. We're carrying the weight of our relationships, what we define as our failures, our deficiencies, the way we perceive ourselves, secrets, tons of secrets, skeletons in the closet. All those things weigh you down. All those things require what? They require energy from you to keep them alive. They're sucking life from folks. That's why some people, yes, you can see that they're wearing their life. You know, somebody that's been through a lot and their face looks really just stretched and stressed and stretched, and you understand, and suddenly you understand more about that person's life. You get a history and you go, oh, okay, wow, that person has been through a lot. They've been through a lot, but their bodies are still carrying it. And it's taking life force. It's sucking the life out of them because it needs to, the cells and the whole body needs for that to be released so that it can breathe, so that it can what? So that it can take in a full flow of oxygen, so that all of the hormones can work effectively, efficiently, so that the whole body system can be in balance again. And that's why our emotions and our thoughts and our belief systems can make our bodies acid. It's a whole system at work, and the mind plays a very crucial role, and the interface of the brain, they all play a crucial role in what happens with us. And even, you know, with myself, I was just talking about it last night on the webinar that we had, and how when I find myself engrossed in my work, very more matrixy stuff, business stuff, you know, maybe heavy duty, trying to figure things out, marketing, or what I think I'm not doing, that starts to become draining. becomes very, very stressful, very draining, and you can feel it, you can see it in yourself. You can look in the mirror, as I like to say, in the morning, and you're fresh, you get up, you in that moment, you look great. And then a couple of hours later, you go look in the mirror and you're just like, what happened? You know, I was so gorgeous this morning when I woke up, and then suddenly, you know, you feel, you either feel like you look puffy or whatever. And it's like all of the stuff, you know, in those few hours of sitting in front of the computer and just everything. And that's how our body responds. The other thing that I also like is Dr. Ernest Rossi's work, what the heck is the ultradian rhythm? And he's written quite a few books. And his work it was so very significant to really understanding this 20-minute break that he talks about, where the body reboots itself, and like a computer. Most often, we override it, just like we were talking about with our upgrades on our computer. I tend to like to, when it's asked me, I'm like, later, yeah, tomorrow, you know. And so it wants to upgrade, but I'm too busy. I don't want you upgrading now. And then we get upset when it suddenly upgrades while you're doing stuff. Then it takes a half an hour because all that stuff needs to be upgraded. So it's the same thing. When we don't take that break, and we try to override it with like caffeine or cigarettes or whatever it is we do to override that natural rebooting process that happens every 90 minutes or something like that. This is why you feel agitated. We're sitting in front of the computer. We've been there for 2 hours, and that you start to get agitated. That's because just like a computer where on Word it says it saves every few minutes. Well, it needs to get you to shut down for a second, get away just for a little bit, and go sit down or go do something pleasurable, whether it be check your garden or for some people putting away the dishes is pleasurable. Folding clothes, none of which are pleasurable to me, but it's something different. Just taking that or sitting back and just relaxing. Let the rebooting happen. Go to the store. Figure out what you're gonna have for dinner, whatever it is. Let the rebooting happen. And then you come back to what you're doing and you find that you're actually more effective. Mm-hmm. You get more done. You're not trying to override the sleepy feeling, or crash and burn after, your third cup of coffee, and you're not doing any of that because you're allowing this natural process to happen. There's a natural cycle in play with this physical sensory system. And so these are things that we need to understand, that there's a whole lot going on here. And it's not just, Sonia is just saying, just don't think death and it won't happen. Because the minute somebody says, well, I'm just not going to think death, but then I see other thought processes that you have, other things that you're actually doing, that underneath it all, there are these running programs. There's these other programs, just like, again, on the computer with Trojan horse, or with things that are running in the background of your computer, slowing it down. But you have no idea exactly what it is. It's the same situation here. So they've got some programs that are running that's keeping that belief alive anyway, and your whole body is tied to that because all these other things that are running. So we have to understand that what we're dealing with, and the layers of belief systems that are at work. And that's why I say be honest. We have to know thyself. We have to take an honest look at ourselves and how we operate, how we function, and not judge, not beat up on ourselves, not have regret, but just simply to see, how can you make changes if you can't see, if you won't look? How does that happen? And so this is what I realize, is that you have to do these things. So there's a series of things that, people are having to do to start getting, releasing some of those programs. It's not a little bit, it's like being a little bit pregnant. You can't be a little bit pregnant. It's like you either are or you're not.
What's it gonna be?
Yeah, which one is it gonna be? I haven't met anybody who's a little bit pregnant yet. I don't know. So yeah, so those are some of the things that are related to this concept. And one has to, when a person really understands what we're speaking about, you don't hear them go, oh, I wouldn't want to live that long. Your perception changes, because they're immediately, when a person says that, you know what that says? That says that they think that the only version of reality there is the one that they've been experiencing, where, oh yeah, there's so many wars and people killing each other and this, and that's immediately what they see. They don't see that, well, perhaps you may end up living a completely different experience of life if you allow it. They don't see that. They see the standard model of reality. They see their bones being brittle, and they're falling apart and broken down and in a chair. And that's what they see when they say, well, I wouldn't want to live that long. And if you ask them, well, why wouldn't you? And then some people just go, well, why would I? No, that's not the question. Why wouldn't you? Be specific. They can't even really be specific. Now they have to think about why they think that. And that's a process. It's like, well, if they're going to be honest, they would go, from everything I've seen. The other part of that program, Judith, is the acceptance that chances are, by the time you get to a certain age, you've got to come down with a disease. You have to come down with something, has to happen.
Yeah, and you are no longer independent. Somebody has to wipe your butt. You can't use the shower by yourself, and all those stories that we are running in our heads. Yeah.
And we see this in the commercials. What are we going to do with mom? She's at a certain age. We can't have her living by herself. So there's an automatic, not saying that obviously people are going through that, but what I'm trying to show is the model that exists. And that is automatic, that even if there are people that are doing well right now, they're fine. But they start to think, well, and I hear it. I've heard that. I'm getting up in age. I need to make sure I move closer to the children, to my kids, you're getting older, you never know. Then you've got the commercials for the Lifeline and people falling on the ground, and then they can't get up.
And the diapers.
Yeah, and the diapers, which is starting out early, because now they do the diaper commercials and people are dancing. They're going out dancing in those hideous underwear.
Yeah.
That they say look pretty. And we're laughing. And my husband, I'm like, babe, do you think that looks hot? Is that sexy right there? Commercial. He's like, no. But it's like they keep prepping you. They keep prepping not just the older people, the younger people, the kids. You're being prepped all the way along this ride. You're being prepped for all these different stages in your life. Then you have the burial commercials. Then you have the insurance commercials, the guilt commercials. Don't let your loved ones suffer. Your property, whatever, could go into probate if you die without a will. Get your will now. Get your casket now. Get your plot now. I was like, for me, it becomes entertaining now after a while, because you see through the ridiculousness of it. It's like watching a movie. It's like watching a movie like Minority Report or Vanilla Sky or one of those films And when you're able to step back and not be a participant in the experiencing of the emotional triggers, but you can step back and watch it, it's like a play, it's or a film that's being run, a film of programs that's reminding you, and you're watching it from a distance. It's hysterical, but at the same time, it's like, what in the hell? Where am I? Okay, I know I'm on Earth, in some version of Earth, but this is crazy. It's really, really interesting, and people take it in. We really need to figure out, what we should do, if, with getting our plot, or people that are excited. I remember this guy when I worked in corporate America some years ago. I mean, he came in on a Monday after the weekend, and he was so excited because he was telling us that him and his wife had just gone and picked out their caskets, and how beautiful they were on the inside and all of that. And it was just like, I was like, yeah. And it was like kind of like the Cadillacs of caskets. And all I could do is just sit there. And you're just listening to this, and everybody's like, wow. And some people wanted to get like the name of who they worked with.
Give me the link.
Yeah, hook me up. And so, the whole game is just an absolute riot. And just watching the characters and how invested we are in a game of data, of programs that's been presented to you like a vacation, or a package, or some sort of travel package, some sort of a reality show, or and it's, yeah, you want to go do this. You sure you want to go to haunted house? You want to do this? Yeah, it's very scary. Yeah, I want to do it. Give me the works, or a virtual tour. Yeah, I want the whole thing. Yeah, sure, because when you get there, you're not going to remember. You're going to be fully invested. They're like, no, I want to do it anyway. And you come, and this is it right here. You're in it. You got the works. Supersize me.
Yeah.
Extra fries with that, please.
So some people, let's talk about me.
Yeah, let's talk about you.
I never really cared about my age, and I'm not saying that because it sounds cool.
Right. You just never cared.
I didn't give a shit.
Yeah, which is exactly what you need to do.
Oh, okay.
Which is, it's true. It's like, that's what you need to do, along with the understanding, because there's a level of not caring about your age. There's a lot of people that not care about their age, but ultimately they still have the running program back there that they know they will ultimately expire. See, that's the difference. The difference is, I don't care about my age. Then it'll be followed by, we all gotta die sometime. So it just depends on where we are. It depends on what our understanding is. Beyond that, there's a lot of people, yes, they'll say, I don't care about my age. Age is just a number. And then in the same breath, they'll be, picking out their casket anyway. So the fact is that there are these running programs, information, and that's what we have to see with ourselves. We have to see the truth. And it's okay if somebody says, you know what, honestly, I'm fine with expiring. That's fine. There's no right or wrong about any of it. That's fine. But it's just the honesty factor. It's just being able to honestly see the truth of what I really believe. And, of course, I've been doing this for a while, and there's one person in particular that comes to mind. And I remember it was a few years later, and she decided a couple of years ago when we had a gathering at my house. And I used to do that once a year for the people who are familiar. And she said, you know what I finally decided? She said, I decided that I'm not going to die. She said, I finally decided that.
Mm-hmm.
And I could hear it in her with a certainty. She finally decided that she wasn't going to expire, but she was going to go ahead and experience what lies beyond that idea. That's been done. You know, when you say, okay, that's been there, done that. It's that sense, okay, been there, done that. At what point do we stop doing the same thing? At what point do we try something new? Just even to think like that. What she said, she says, I finally just decided. She said, yeah, I know I've been hearing about this a long time. Yes, I've been part of this for a long time. But I realized that I finally actually just decided not to do that. That was real funny, and it was huge. But she was truthful with herself. And it wasn't where she was just lip service, talking stuff. It wasn't about that. It was that one moment when she finally said, you know what? I get it. I so understand this now. Okay, now I give permission. Now I give permission. And then with giving permission, now she, like the rest of us, must now walk through and work through a whole lot of things that show up that now has to be changed and transformed in order for that process to take place. And that's why it has taken a while. When I say a while, because again, Confucius say enlightenment need not take a lifetime, but can come in a moment. So for everybody, it's different. But I do know that it is a journey of change that has to happen in one's understanding more than anything else, one's thinking, all the things that may actually occur in your life in order to take you across this bridge of default thinking, default behavior, default expectations. So that's what my work does. And so that kind of information, it happens in these workshops and retreats. Obviously, you can't see that stuff on YouTube or any of that, but it happens in these deeper levels of what we do, of what I do, and you get to hear from everybody else and the experiences. And I mean, it's just really fascinating just to watch people over the number of years, to see them make those changes. And we have one particular person that's in her 80s or early 80s, and has been really with my work for more than 10 years. And I've watched her transform when she got it. And you would not know that that's how old she is based on the measuring stick that we've been given for what 80 is, right? Based on that, she decided she was going to, I remember when she said that, she says, I got it. And she started to cross that bridge. And you see her, and you would not figure, based on our model of what that should look like.
Mm.
It's amazing. It's amazing how, her body looks, how she moves, the things that she does, drives herself, hours away, just lives. She's living with the expectation and the realization of a greater level of experiencing other realms and possibilities. And she hasn't even begun yet. And the same thing, we're all like embryos, like we haven't even been born yet.
Mm.
We did the journey. We had to do this human journey, this what appears to be this dumbed down version, a necessary experience though. We had to do this thing because that's what we came here to do. We came here to discover what that is to be a human. And we experience that in many different ways. We might not all experience some of the what we would define as horrific experiences, but someone else has done it, you know. So that data, like a computer, that the emotional response and reactions and sensations from those experiences, it's like it just gets uploaded. It's like there. But we have certainly experienced any and everything that could possibly be when it comes to being human. My experiences might be unique. I've been through my own challenges and struggles and all, you know, many of those things. You've been through yours. We've all had our area of expertise in the experiences that we've had as a human. So at some point now you go, okay, I get that. That's me. I'm like, okay, that was great. That was, you know, I got it. Okay, I'm ready to do something else. I love being here. I do. And you must fall in love with the game. This is part of this whole process. You must fall in love with the experience, because when you get it, it's like that, okay, the joke's on me. This is a big game. I get it.
Let's play.
Really, yeah, exactly. You get it. And now you're not like fighting it. You're mad at it. You hate it. You want to go somewhere else. That's a recipe that leads you to the expiration, because part of the key is, and what's the other word? Part of the key, the magic, the code is to fall in love with it, because we at all these different levels came up with this, right? All these different levels of existence. Anyway, which all these different levels of existence we did. And so it's that, wow, you know. And then you start to enjoy the game in different ways as well. You enjoy people, you know, like I like to go to different things, jazz concerts, this, that, the other. You can't be bored. There's so many things that we haven't yet explored just right here in the game. Like, and I'm talking on the planet, so many places we have never been to that we have not seen. We haven't seen some of the incredible effects of nature, you know, that goes beyond, you know, all the traditional and common versions of nature that we may see. There's so much, and nature is an incredible portal. It's just, I mean, that's a whole other thing, but just amazing. We are fire, we are water, we are air, we are earth, we are the elements. We are made of the elements. That is another crucial and important thing to understand in this idea of living beyond expiration. We have to understand, what is this? What is this body made out of? It's a science behind this. So it's not just talking, there's a science behind it. And it's really important that when we start to understand more of that, it makes sense. It starts to make more sense. And the more sense that it makes is the more you step away from the idea of expiring, because you realize, I don't really need to do that. It just makes sense. It clicks. And that click is really what makes you not have to try not to expire. You just start living, and now you're off on whatever the adventure is of discovering. It doesn't mean that you're not still going through your moments of challenges, because you're still here, part of this, but you learn how to deal with that without reacting and without building stories around every situation. You learn to laugh at yourself more than anything else. Laughter is another key component. It's a huge piece. It's a huge piece, and a lot of people don't understand it. They think it's just being serious. No, it's a seriousness, the super seriousness that crystallizes the experiences. That's what crystallizes everything. It's the super seriousness. Of course, yeah, there are things you want to focus on, you want to crystallize, but to be able to laugh at yourself in those moments. And I've had moments in my life where I'm crying And then all of a sudden, I just started laughing because I'm like, this is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it
I
starts,
know exactly what you mean. When
yeah,
you monitor yourself and you are really in a shitty mood, and
yeah,
then you snap out of it and you
right.
laugh your head off.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's light, and it allows those things to leave, because those emotions, the adverse emotions, they're just hanging around based on more of the same thing. Is the same frequency. It's looking for the same thing, and it's looking for focus. You're focusing on it. So yeah, then that's how the people stay in depressions too, because it becomes chemical. We become addicted to everything about ourselves and what we're experiencing, and the body's a chemical factory as well. So you're focused on it, focused on it, focused on it, and then of course you can only get more of what you're focusing on.
And
But
then
when
you
we're able
become your
to,
story.
yes,
Mm.
absolutely, you're able to laugh, it starts to go away, because there's nothing pulling it back. You're not, it needs you to say, stay, wait a minute, where are you going? Stay right here. I want to be upset. But it was like, the minute you're laughing at it, it's nothing to anchor it. There's nothing to anchor it, so it starts to go away. And I was on somebody's show the other day, and I was talking about, which was funny. I was reminded of when I was a child, because I just hated going to sleep. It was like the worst thing in the world. Like, you could tell me it was bedtime. Oh my God. It was like you're like, hanging me out somewhere to drive, just hanging me out somewhere. And so I hated it. So immediately they say time to go to bed. I would go in my bed. I would cry and cry. My parents had great patience. Great patience. I don't know. I probably would have put me in the trunk of my car. But I would cry and cry. And then I would eventually fall asleep.
Mm.
Then I would wake up and realize that, oh, that's right, I was crying before I fell asleep. Let me start crying again. And I remember that's what I would do. I would wake up and I was like, oh yeah, I was crying. Let me pick that right back up. And I started crying. I would start crying again.
Back to the shitty mood.
Exactly. Let me get back on that, because I was really working on that. So, and that's what we do. It's like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I could almost feel really good right now. Oh yeah, but I'm not done yet with like my misery. I'm not done. I gotta get right back to that. Now let me call a few friends that will help to support, this misery. Let me call a few people.
I won't give up unless 10 other people are feeling shitty as well.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna give up on my dreams of being miserable. I'm gonna run it into the ground. And that's what we do. And we've all done some of those things at some point. And I've been down years back, more so. I remember, and you just want to sit in a corner, and you don't care if cobwebs grow on you. You just want to sit there, and you just want to be that. And I've had to go, okay, you know what, Sonia, you've been in this space for a while. You need to snap out of it. You've had to just like shake yourself and go, you know what? Okay, this has been going on for a while. Otherwise, you can get caught in a string of depression that could last, go on and on. Now you're addicted to that. You're addicted to that mood, that feeling, and it just goes on and on and on. And so, realizing that, and I didn't realize as much as I understand now, but I do know that it just going to go more and more. And I was tired of it. And so I had to force myself out of that state, force myself a little bit at a time until I was completely out of it. And not everybody can obviously do that when, you're far gone into whatever it is that's ailing you, or that you're emotionally tied to.
Yeah, exactly. So, Sonia, I thank you so much for doing this. I know your time is limited today.
Yes, today it
And
is.
I especially thank you for going into areas where hardly anybody goes.
Yeah, they don't go into those corners because most people don't know. They just don't go there because they don't know what to do with that. Everybody tells great information. A lot of the spiritual community, they take people right up to the door.
Mm.
Lots of wonderful information about your life, evolving your life, positive thinking, all of that. And then they lead you right to the slaughter. They were just preparing you so that when you die, you will have done all of these things and, your bucket list and live life to the fullest. I'm always like, well, then what the hell is the point? Well, okay, so, what's that?
Mm.
So anyway, so that's why I do what I do.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
And all the best for your um, workshops that are coming up. So if anybody is in the Los Angeles area, hit her up, go to a workshop.
All right.
This
And
was-
there's one online coming up too.
Oh,
I
okay.
hope people check that out because that's going to be different than I've done before. It's a 6-part series, and it's the natural science of the path within series. I've not done that before, and I'm excited about it because I am taking people from the very the beginning, from the game itself, the idea of the game, so that people have a better understanding, all the way through to understanding this idea of ascension and the real science of that, and not this other stuff that people kind of throw around. So that's there's a part of it on the website right now, but there'll be more details, but it's on the website, and that starts in January. So,
Okay.
all right. Thank you so much, Judith. As always, it's a pleasure chatting with you, and I look forward to when we do it again.
Yeah, me too. And I always have so much fun.
Thank you. Keep laughing.
Okay, this was it, Night Flight for today. See you all next time. Stay safe and sound. Bye-bye.